Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It is mid-February 2024. I'm not exactly sure what day this is going to go up, but I'm here to share a video with you that I'm really excited about. I'll go ahead and say my favorite video of the year because I'm here today to share with you my Nashville releases. I just got a comment. You see the sun right there. I know this has come up in my other videos. There's a skylight right above where I'm sitting, and during the seasons I can see, or as the year goes on, I see how the sun affects where it hits. So like during this time of year, the stitching that I have here and even on the wall, you could see what's going to happen. That sun is going to go right there. But hopefully within a month or so, it starts to be lower and I can put things back up. So welcome. If you are new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome. I so appreciate you spending some time with me today. There are plenty of Flosstube videos to watch, both designers sharing Nashville releases as well as plenty of stitchers sharing all kinds of cool things. My design name is Works by ABC because my initials are ABC. There's a whole long and silly story why this YouTube channel is just Arlene Cohen, but hopefully you have found me okay. In my other life, I am a teacher, and so I always want to kind of keep in mind the things that not everyone knows, and some people might assume that everyone knows. So Nashville is a wholesale market for stores to come and purchase in person. It's what's called a cash and carry market. And so it happens in early March each year. Sure, we'll say it's the highlight of the cross-stitch design world, I'll say, with other events, of course, being up there as well. But to be in person is an exciting time to meet designers and to share new things and see, the models in person and so on. It takes place at an Embassy Suites in Nashville, or outside of Nashville, so I guess it's called that, Tennessee. An Embassy Suites is one of those hotels where every room is a suite. So there's like a living room space and a bedroom space. And exhibitors, it's not like you go into a big ballroom exhibiting space. You take your hotel room and you take the living room and you turn it into your store. So again, it's wholesale. So the store owners come to purchase from the exhibitors, which are mostly designers, of course, but you have thread companies and fabric companies and accessory like project bag companies as well. And so they come, and the idea is all the exhibitors come to Nashville with full cars, full boxes shipped, everything. And the store owners come with, in effect, empty suitcases and empty boxes. And in the end, the store owners go home with filled suitcases and filled boxes, and the exhibitors go home with none of that. That's the goal anyway. This is my third year exhibiting at Nashville. I did go as a visitor in 2020, which literally happened a week before the world really started shutting down. And there's all kinds of stories related to it, but it was so helpful to me to go there, to walk around, to interact with some folks, to get the visual of how it works. And so I like to be able to share with plenty of stitchers who don't go to a Nashville because they're not associated with a store. There's often a lot of videos that come out, people posting. It is quite an exciting time to see things in person. Speaking of seeing things, shall we jump right in? I have 7 new releases for Nashville. If you see anything you like, either on my video or anyone else's or on Instagram or any of those places, make sure to contact a local store or an online store. They will be happy to get it for you, I am sure. Plenty of opportunities to support small businesses, which is, certainly a big deal when it comes to Nashville. So I'm just going to jump right in. So my first piece, last year, I'll go ahead and say my biggest seller last year, the piece that I think got the most, certainly one of the most highest amounts of attention, was part of my lace series. If you are new to me, another thing that I do besides stitching, in addition to cross stitching, other types of stitching as well, and I also do Bobin Lace. And lace has not been my main focus the last couple of years, as my designing has just kind of taken over a bit. that doesn't mean I don't love it. And I'm always looking for inspiration in the lace world. And some years ago, I came up with this idea to bring together my lace interests and my cross-stitching interests. And so last year, the new piece was called Exquisite Lace. So I'm excited to share with you this year Majestic Lace. And Majestic came partially because it's a large piece. I'll talk details in a second. The purple fabric that I used, purple is the color of royalty. I mean, it all just kind of came together really nicely. And it's inspired by a lace tablecloth, not one that I made, and certainly machine made, not handmade. And I just love translating these things. So it's a large one. And I know when I was stitching it, and there was no point that I got tired of stitching it. I'm not in any way claiming that. But I remember thinking, I hope there's people out there that like large pieces like I do. So some details. I stitched this on 36 count weeks fabric. If you didn't know, Weeks Dye Works does fabric as well, in the color Concord, like Concord grape. And it was just the exact purple that I was hoping for when I didn't have the name Majestic at first. It was just, I was thinking about what color fabrics I've in effect already used for lace pieces, my lace designs. As has also been the case for others, I stitched this using Floche, and I meant to take out some, and I'm sorry I didn't. Floche is a DMC thread. I'll go ahead and say it's not the most common one out there. It is about the thickness of 2 strands of regular floss. It's a very, to me, smooth thread, soft. It's the kind of thing that, to me, provides the perfect coverage when you're doing 36 count. Plenty of people have also asked me about sulky petites, which is also the thing that people, that said is about 2 strands and provides good coverage. And I've tested it out, and it perfectly fine. I like the feel of Floche myself. So this way, I don't have to use 2 strands. But you certainly could. There's nothing that says you have to use Floche. Because it comes in these large hanks, it's not something that a lot of cross-stitch stores carry, or certainly carry a lot of. You can get it when I have needed it. I know some stores that via Etsy or other stores that I know just carry it. There's also areas, the areas that look lighter is just 1 strand tent stitch of a DMC floss. So if you look like in the center of that flower. And I just, it's the simplest thing. 1 strand and only a 10 stitch. And you get, the effect that I wanted to get. Pattern. And let me just, what else did I not say yet? Oh, stitch count. 355 by 355. So she's a biggie. This is about 19 inches by 19 inches, the stitching. And to me, it has quite a visual impact, and that's what I love about doing these pieces. Lace comes in colors other than white. You are not limited to doing a lace design in white. I like the look, but there's more than one person on Instagram that has tagged me that have done some beautiful things, versions of my patterns with a totally different color palette. Now, when I was stitching this, I don't know if anyone watching here went to the Grace Notes retreat in August. I was working on this there. I was working on it at the beginning. And I figured anyone who saw the beginning pieces that I had, I didn't, they weren't about to post a picture or anything. But if you happen to be someone that was there and sort of walk by my table and see me working on a really large scroll bar, this is the end result of that. Now, how many times do you hear... Well, I think that you hear a reference to a very large design, and then someone saying, but I'm just going to stitch a certain motif or a little piece of it, and I love it when I see people who have done that. So in that spirit, okay, I admit that sun back there is bothering me, but there's nothing I can do about it right now because I want to get this video done. So I have stitched, you can just see this, the top here with a little bit of the scroll work and the little offshoot flowers. I stitched here to kind of show living proof that stitching one little part of a large design can look really beautiful on its own. And just for fun, I kind of did a reverse of the colors. So this is a white fabric with like a Concord purplish, it's actually a Cosmo thread. And I did use, this is not, I didn't use floche, this is 2 strands, 36 count, 2 strands. You can pretty much see, I mean, equivalent basically coverage here. And then again, you can see the, actually I could bring this one up closer, 1 strand of DMC in the 10 stitches. So, Majestic Lace, this is the big one, you know, large size wise, certainly, for my Nashville releases. So, Majestic Lace. Put things aside here. I got my notes, keeping track. All right, number 2. It's connected with my lace interests. I love going on museum websites and searching the collection. A number of museums have many of their, if not all of their items and pictures in the public domain. So I'm awful just looking for inspiration. And I, at some point, went to the Cleveland Museum of Art and was searching basically lace on their website. And I discovered this. And it is a 16th century Italian, they believe, it says it is believed to be a tablecloth. It is about 60 inches by 60 inches, so like 5 feet by 5 feet, which makes it pretty large. And according to the description, all of these squares are different. Now, it alternates. You could see that every other square is more of a thicker, they're different, two different types of lace work. So the ones that are, I should have a pencil to point, the ones that are like that with the white is a type of lace called reticella, where there's fabric and you kind of play around with the threads of it. And the ones that are like this is called Filet Lace. And I'm often looking for Filet Lace pieces to help build off my lace ideas. Anyway, I saw this and I thought, can I translate to a cross stitch pattern? Well, to take one of these Filet Lace squares and start to chart it out, yeah, if I kept going like that, it was going to be something like 4 feet by 4 feet or something ridiculous. Like, no. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just find a few motifs and kind of put them together in some sort of geometric way. And then I kind of went with it. I'm like, you know what? The math brain of me started clicking in here. Like I said, in my other life, I'm a teacher, I'm a middle school math teacher. And knowing that each of these squares had a different pattern, I thought, well, what if I just took the center of the motifs? What would that turn into size-wise? And it turned into something that would work. Now, because I only used the center, there are some repeats of motifs because I was only using 11 by 11 stitches, I think, whereas I forget the size of each of these motifs. So cool, I started charting. I was into this and I'm like, okay, I got to think a color scheme here because I knew Majestic Lace was going to be my big monochrome piece for Nashville, and I didn't want a second monochrome piece. And then I was literally looking around. I have over here, my DMC cabinet. I have Cosmo cabinets. And my eyes went to a piece of Bobin Lace that I keep over there. I'm going to hold it up right now. So this is a piece of Bobin Lace I did in 2016. The big lace organization is called the International Organization of Lacers, Inc., IOLI. And a few years I've been able to attend the yearly convention. And at the yearly convention, there is always a contest. I mean, they announce the contest theme the previous year, and if you wish to participate, you make something that goes with that theme. So the previous year, in 2016, it was taking place in Indianapolis. And that year, the state of Indiana was celebrating its bicentennial, 200 years of being a state. And so the theme, I loved it. It was very simple. Theme was 200, however you wish to interpret that. And to me, I loved the creativity. Like one year, the theme was like stars, fine, beautiful. There were lovely things. But 200 really kind of opened things up. And I remember the plane ride home thinking, could I do something? 2015 when I went and the theme was announced. I remember thinking, could I do something with 200 colors? And there's more to the whole story, but the end result is, yeah, I did. And this is, the colors are all DMC. And so I saw this and I'm like, And so I would like to introduce you to 324. And I'm calling this 324 because there's 324 shades of DMC. Now, as you can imagine, it uses so little of each. You wouldn't need to go to like a Michael's and sit there and buy every single one of them if you already have some. The color layout, absolutely inspired by my Bobin Lace layout. I'm going to go this way so I hide the sun. But both of those came from the DMC color card. If you have a I should bring one over here. I will. Hold please. I have a DMC card that has the real thread, and that usually lives downstairs for designing, or at least it is right now. This is just the printed colors. If you look here, and how you start with the reds, pinks, purples, blues, into the greens, the yellows, and so on, that on a diagonal is what I've done here. And I loved how it came out. It's one thing to chart things out on a computer screen and say, well, I think I like this, but then to start stitching it and say, wow, this is coming out exactly how I envisioned. Now, for the every other square, I was using the motifs, and then you could see every other one is just a block of 5x5 stitches. I did this on 36 count, just a Zweigart white or antique white, and used only one strand. I mean, that was my goal, is not to have to deal with 2 strands to pull this off. So that's why I went 36 count. And I just love how it turned out. I called it 324. There's 324 squares there. However, I'm aware that not everyone wants to stitch a piece with 324 different colors. So I started to play around just computer generated wise. And so you can see here is a version that includes only 36 colors. Now, it doesn't have quite the same effect, but it's pretty close. So basically in this version, 9 of them get stitched with the same color. And again, this is my mathy brain putting this all together. So in this chart, you do get instructions for the 36 color version as well as the 324 version. And let me say right now, there are not 324 different symbols. I know my charting program doesn't have that many, and no one would want to deal with that. So everything is, just, I think I use X's or circles or something. And then there's like a chart that says what color goes in what spot. And again, I loved the effect of it, especially when you have something that turns out exactly how you were hoping it would be. Geometry is often a theme with my designs. Old pattern books, old things that are inspired from stuff that came in existence centuries ago. And this one certainly covers both of those sources of inspiration. So, 324. That's all it is. Oh, putting those there. And I'm putting this here. Okay. Next up on my list, did I say everything I needed to say for that? Oh, size-wise, where did I put it? This is 198 by 198. So you could see it was not a large piece by any means. I think it's about 11 inches by 11 inches. Oh, I can look right here. 11 inches by 11 inches. All right, number 3. Let me just adjust getting things ready here. Last year, one of my Nashville releases that I was really excited about was a set of nesting dolls that were 3-dimensional, made out of perforated paper. And there was a lot of positive feedback about that. And I thought, well, let me do some brainstorming, see what I could come up this year. So I am presenting to you Wild Rose. And the vase and the flower are made from perforated paper. It is, there we go. It's a 5-petal flower. I'll talk in a moment why I'm calling it Wild Rose, but it could be any 5-petal flower you want. You could change the color and turn it into a blue flower or a red flower or whatever. And this took a lot of prototypes to figure out how to make it work and make it work in a simple enough way that there would be interest in it. Because I certainly had some complicated things that I was trying at first. So the piece, the flower, is made up just of 2 pieces of perforated paper stitched together. So the back, it looks like it's 2 different pieces, and just sort of gently shaped, because perforated paper you can do that with. The stem is 5 pieces of perforated paper stitched together, and there's a button that helps hold it all together. The vase, 4 different sides that are the same, piece of perforated paper on the bottom, not stitched. If you are familiar with perforated paper, if you're not, it's lightweight. And so just to put this in here, it would totally flop over. So I put a few coins in here, and it's totally enough weight to hold it as is. And I really like how it turned out. Going into that 3-dimensional world is a fun little challenge for me. Now, the pattern does come with 2 pieces of perforated paper, which is more than enough to stitch this, as well as the yellow button. Where am I? Right there. And full instructions on how to assemble it all. You end up needing to stitch, the 2 pieces of pink petal, the 5 green, and the 4 gray. And I love how it came out. So another 3-dimensional perforated paper pattern this year, and I'm hoping gets lots of positive feedback. So, Wild Rose. Why am I calling it Wild Rose? Well, think more Bobin Lace inspiration. So I mentioned just a few moments ago about being the colorful piece that had the theme 200 was part of the 2016 IOLI convention. In 2015, which is where they announced the theme for 2016, in 2015 was in Iowa. And that was just, I'd actually gone to an earlier one, but I didn't have it was great and wonderful. It was like 2010, 2011, and then I hadn't gone. 2015 was I just really enjoyed myself there. Just soaking in all the possibilities of classes and all the events. So when I decided I was going to go, the theme for that year, I don't know exactly how they worded it. Basically, it was anything to do with Iowa. Look at a state flower, a state bird. It was things like that, the symbols of Iowa. And so I was searching around. State flower of Iowa, I think there's more than one, is a wild rose. And I didn't know this, but a wild rose does not necessarily look like what you might think of as a rose in terms of that many number of petals. That there are wild roses, and I saw some while I was there. The back of the hotel had this lovely nature preserve area, and there were flowers blooming back there. It was a 5-petal flower. And so this was the piece of Bobin Lace that I entered in that contest. And you can see each of the petals is a different stitch, of a filling stitch. And this is just, how do I do this? Just a little bit of yellow there. So when I was doing all my prototypes, I had started with 6 petals, and I just couldn't make it work, for lack of better words. But I could make 5 petals work. And so then I went searching for a 5-petal flower. Again, it could be any 5, and I just wanted one to kind of hone in on my mind. And again, looking around. Now, this is one of the pieces that usually stands up here, so it's actually flat. But I was like, there we go. And to me, it's such a sweet memory of my time in Iowa that summer. So that's why I called it Wild Rose. And hey, if you never knew that rose is, a flower that is part of the, scientific family rose could look like this, it can. Okay, did I say, so perforated paper that it comes with, without there's no stitch count to say, but this is about 6.5 inches high, just to give you a sense. And what is this? About 3 or so inches wide here. So it's not big at all. I hold it next to my face. You could see it is not that big. But a fun little project, especially if you are a stitcher that, likes to do something different. Okay, so putting that down. Next up, Um, I have, like my designs that are inspired by lace, I have another series. And the best I've come up with is a word for it is I call it my repeating motif series. And these are the three that I've done previously. Pretty sure this was the first one that I called landscape. And then came lake. And then came sunset. And I hope you can see fairly clearly that they each involve, some motif. They're different motifs that just get repeated over and over, but it's all about the placement of the color of threads to see the design. And last year, while I was in Nashville, being there, I have certainly found the other 2 times I've attended helps inspire me to come up with ideas of potentially new designs. And there was some store owners, customers that were commenting about these and they liked them. And I thought, maybe it's time to do another one. So I am pleased to introduce you to cherry blossoms. And literally a few weeks after Nashville, I was out for my daily walk, and cherry blossoms, or at least blossoming trees that look like cherry blossoms to me without knowing 100% what color, is like they overhang. There's a part of my typical walk area where there's the walkway and there's trees that kind of overhang, particularly when they're blooming. And there it was. That's what I'm going to do my new repeating motif design on. Lots of pictures. I realized doing a straight path, which is what it is, that particular stretch that I'm referring to, I just couldn't make it look nice, so I end up with a little, curvy path there. But to this day, even though it's winter and it certainly isn't blooming trees, I always think about this every time I'm walking down that particular area. So you can see a repeating motif. This, like all of these, uses Gentle Arts. There are 7 different colors in here, and because there's an element of variation to them, particularly the pinks, you can get even more, looking like it's more than even 7 colors. So there's 3 pinks, there's the 2 greens, the brown, and the gray. And I stitched this, as I've stitched all of them, on a 32 count Jobelin, so an even weave, over 1. And I know my typical stitching for a 32 count would be using 2 strands, but I purposely did 1 strand because I want the light, airy effect. And that's what has come from all of them so far, and I might be continuing this series if this is positively received out there. So cherry blossoms, and I will look forward to this coming, March into April when I start seeing the trees flower again. So what else to share? Stitch count 96 over 64. All of these have been designed pretty purposefully to fit on the 32 count in a 5x7 frame. So these are just, frames bought at Michael's or Target or somewhere, because sometimes it's really helpful when you have a design that's like designed to be that size. If you were stitched on 28 count, I don't know if you would. I've also learned that any frame, 5x7 or otherwise, can say that on the information. But if you actually measure what would be showing, there could be slightly different amounts. Like a 1/4 inch difference could make the difference in cutting something off or not. So anyway, if you are ever purchasing a frame for any project, you might want to just, if you are expecting it to come close to the edge of the frame, you might want to double check that it actually doesn't go under the frame, because the frame is actually not allowing the same amount of space. All right, so there we go. 7 Gentle Arts, only on 32 count, 96 over 64. I think I've got it all. So there is cherry blossoms. It's right there. Piles are building up all around me. Well, there were piles around me before I started, but now they're all in disarray. Although there's a lot of where I'm sitting right now, which is my loft space, which is like my creative studio area. I stitch downstairs as well as up here, but there's this place is a mess right now, and it's all because of like Nashville related things. And I didn't say this at the beginning. So I live in New Jersey. So I am someone who ships boxes to Nashville and flies down. There are people that drive. For me, it would be about a 12-hour drive. That's just I can't do a drive like that. You know, even as a passenger or as a driver or a combination. And so there will be coming a certain point, like the week before Nashville. There's a specific day. I got to make sure I send my boxes by that day so they get there in time. And then once those boxes go, it's like, what do I do with myself? Okay, let me move onward. I am aware that, well, certainly two out of the, well, whatever. Big projects are wonderful, but not everyone loves big things. So I wanted to make sure this year that I had at least a couple of smalls that would appeal to the small lovers, stitchers out there. And the theme of spring, you know, flowers, cherry blossoms, brainstorming what else? Well, you think birds. And I'm like, you know what? I think I need to do a bird pattern. So, oh wait, I should show you the real things and not the pattern. So here is a sweet little bird. And here is the inverse of the sweet little bird. Oh, I should hold them this way so they're facing one another. So this, I'm calling this Bluebirds because it was intending that to be a bluebird. I can't even hold it straight. There we go. And to do the reverse stitching or the inverse stitching, and there's different names for this. I was trying to, like, you hear about Assisi work, A-S-S-I-S-I, and that certainly gets called this. There's all kinds of historical things that I won't get into right now. Sometimes just called voided stitching because you're stitching in the void, or you're not stitching where it's voided. Whatever. These are literally, it's the same thing in reverse, so I made it so the birds face each other. Both of these were stitched on fabric flare fabric. I know a few videos back, I was, maybe it was back in the summer, I was sharing about the fabric flare fabric that I'd gotten that has a hand-dyed effect. I mean, they call it the dyed effect. And so if you think about what is a more commonly known one, like vintage country mocha, which is a printed fabric, so it looks like it's a hand-dyed one, but on the other side, you can tell it's not. Fabric Flare does that and has a lot of options. You can order directly from their website. There are stores that will carry them. There's some stores that will carry like exclusives from them. Like they'll have something in effect printed for that store, that project. But there's lots and lots and lots of options to order from on their website. So these are stitched with two different hand-dyed effect ones. One is called, so the colorful bird was stitched on Fabric Flare Sage Green dyed effect. And the other one was stitched on Fabric Flare Waxing Moon dyed effect. If they were bigger pieces, maybe you could see that dyed effect a little bit more, but I really enjoyed stitching. Both of them I did on 36 count, and for these I used sulky. So back to that thing I was talking about earlier with Flosh. To me, sulky on 36 provides a good coverage. So these are sulky threads, and this is one of the blendables. And I, love playing with variegation in designs. And I definitely gravitate more toward the type of variegated, whether it's sulky or weeks or gentle arts, whatever, that are the same color family, different shades of blue. There's some, shall we say, extreme, on the other extreme end of variegation, I think there's like a weeks that is literally red, white, and blue. Which is very cool to look at, and trying to think about how to stitch it, how to use it to its best effect in a stitching project. So that is literally like 3 different colors that have been blended together, or evolved from one to the other. So, but I've always loved this blue navy-ish color of one of the blendables, so I stitched it using that. This is one of my smaller patterns, so it's like the half size. The colorful bird is 46 by 44. The other one is a little bit bigger, 50 by 48. These are, I think, 4-inch frames, simple, easy, and a fun little stitch. So those are the Bluebirds. Putting everything over here. Okay. Also want to do another small came up in my thinking, and again was brainstorming birds and flowers and what else, and how about butterflies. So I had this in my mind. I had really evolved where I was. Butterflies seemed to be an idea to do for like another small. So at some point back in the fall, fall 2023, Smithsonian catalog. You don't get too many catalogs these days. And I'm sure I put my name on a list to get this, because there's, it's things that are sold in their gift shops, just fun stuff. And I'm flipping through, found my inspiration. So these are pins. Are they pins or magnets? These are magnets, sorry. And they are cloisonné butterfly magnets. Embellish any metal surface with this fanciful quartet of hand-enameled, uniquely patterned butterflies. Cloisonné is an art form originating in the Middle East and elevated in China. Copper or bronze objects were adorned with copper wire designs, which are then filled with enamel, fired in a kiln, and polished to a jewel-like shine. And there's also some other animals in these little boxes and so on that they have this cloisonné theme. And I thought, butterfly, because of this. And so here is my cloisonné butterfly. And I'm hoping you can see that surrounding all the areas is stitched in gold, petite treasure braid gold. So in person, you certainly see the shine to it. The other colors are DMC. And it was, I saved this catalog for this day when I was doing my Nashville releases share, so that you can see inspiration can literally come from anywhere. Now, you'll notice I didn't use one of these butterfly designs. It was the idea of a butterfly and cloisonné, and where was I going to go with that, and finding just a palette of colors that I liked, which came from stitchpalettes.com. If you've never been on that website and you're looking for inspiration of collections of colors that are labeled with the DMC colors, it's a great website. I'll link it below. So I picked out this color palette because I wanted something that would work with the gold thread, and playing around with fabric, and I don't like anything I have, but Corinne from Grace Notes Fabrics has, I know back in my, I've done a couple pieces on their fabric. I met her and John at Nashville last year. They were exhibiting last year. They're not going to be there this year. I think their idea was to go and get known in the industry, but I'm not sure how much they want to focus on the wholesale part. So you can buy everything through their website. And when I was at their retreat in August, I took all these notes, because I was seeing fabric in person, of potential uses. And so I emailed her and I said, I have one called Pen Sierra, I think I'm pronouncing that correct, on my list that looks like it's kind of like a light lavender. Is that right? And she said, yes. And when she sent it to me, this could not have been the more, it gets blown out a little bit. This could not have been the more perfect color for the threads I had already chosen. Was I willing to adjust my threads once I decide on a fabric color? Sure. But I just loved the way this looked. And again, I know the sparkle isn't quite showing up, but it is cloisonné converted into cross stitch, shall we say. So petite treasure braid is it comes through Rainbow Gallery. I think a lot of stores, cross-stitch stores, have carried it because it has become a metallic thread that cross-stitchers will use on occasion. And just this frame, I got this off of Amazon, that sort of made to order. You didn't have all the range in the world, but a 5x7 wasn't going to work because of this dimension. And I'm like, all right, what? And then this is a 5x8 frame. So it's not the same as, there's some frame companies that order that you're really, going to precise, half and quarter inches. And I have ordered frames from some of those. But this just what I stumbled on this, and I'm like, perfect. So for my other, half sheet little design, stitched on 32 count Pensier linen from Grace Notes fabric, 2 strands of DMC, 1 strand for the petite treasure braid. It is 109 by 49. And there's my cloisonne butterfly. All right, if you have been counting, that was 6. And that was going to be all for my Nashville releases. And then in December, and I don't quite remember exactly what inspired this, but you'll see in a moment what I'm going to talk about. And I thought it was such a great idea, and I put it on my list. I keep some journals and some books or notebooks of, ideas, inspirations, look into, maybe it'll evolve into a design someday. And then I liked it so much that I was like, I don't need to wait. I'm going to pull this off right now. It wasn't going to be a huge thing. I'm going to make this happen. Like I said, I don't remember the specific thing, but I think you'll understand the spirit. This piece is called Peace. And it is the word peace written in 20 different languages. And I think there's enough going on in our world these days that maybe you could understand peace is needed. And maybe there's plenty of inspiration for why this came about. I love how it turned out. This is another Grace Notes fabric. It's called Blueberry Pie. This was a 32 count. This is DMC. This is B5200. And all of the others are in a very light 3747. I just realized I didn't have this page turned around in the pattern. Hold on. When I had this idea, I wanted to be really attentive to detail because I admit I have a worry that I've done something wrong language-wise. Sorry, this last page wasn't turned around, so what am I saying? 3747, I was right for that light. It's like a light blue if you look at it on its own. But when you stitch it on a blue fabric like this, it gives just the right effect that I was looking for. Now, a true story. I have come out with Jewish designs before, so you may know I'm Jewish. I enjoy coming up with things that serve and are interest for that element of our community. There was a time I was given or shown a magazine like 20 years old, so nothing recent, that had a Hanukkah design in it. And it had some Hebrew words, and at first glance, I didn't know what that said. Now, I am no Hebrew expert. I am not fluent. I know the letters. I know certain words. I know how to pronounce things. It's one of those languages that uses another alphabet. And so as long as you know how to pronounce the words, you could read an awful lot and have no clue what you're saying. But as it turned out, there are 2 letters in Hebrew that are awfully close to one another. And because one of those letters is in the word Hanukkah, the designer or stitcher put in 2, to my eyes, to my charting, looking at the chart, basically 2 extra stitches, and that makes, to my eyes, made it look like the other letter, and therefore to me it spelled like a nonsense word. And once I realized that, I knew that paying attention to, now I don't know the designer, again, it's like 20 years old, was she Jewish and she knew the Hebrew alphabet, and that's just what I can't answer that. But I know that has stuck in my mind, and especially when I started to do this. Now, in trying to come up with 20 languages, I started with the languages that are spoken the most around the world. And I was able to use many of those, but not all of them. I'll come back to that in a second. And some of them, like French, German, Spanish, no problem. It could be very clear. Yes, I've got the correct word. But I wanted to be super careful about words, particularly those using other alphabets. And it's because of that Hanukkah word in that magazine. All right, the Hebrew I was good for. I knew I'd be able to do that one right. I only wanted to do those languages that I could get confirmation from another person, not just one Google search, that I've got it right. And to me, the 2 that were most important to include, again, because of worldwide usage, were Arabic and Chinese. And thanks to some great connections, I found basically my college classmates So I had somebody who really helped me to make sure that that was correct for Arabic, and someone else who helped me, this is correct for Chinese. I also had, when I was asking around on this Facebook group, I have a classmate who I knew in college who, her background is Ukrainian, and she has family that's still there. And however, she's multilingual. So she had responded, I could help you out with Ukrainian, Russian, and I forget what the third one was. And at that point, I'd already had done my research, and I confirmed with her. So this right here, which basically looks like M and a backwards N and basically a P, is the word for peace in both Ukrainian and Russian. According to my friend, they're not pronounced the same. What does that say about the world? So, the pattern comes with a chart so that you will know what represents what. There are a few of these that are in more than one language. For example, Verd, is that how it's going to be pronounced? Excuse me. Is peace in both Dutch and Afrikaans. Afrikaans? I don't know how to pronounce that. Fred is peace in Norwegian, Danish, and Swedish, and that's not surprising that those languages have a lot of crossover, and so on from there. I really tried to get a worldwide grouping. I'm blanking on the word. So I have Swahili and Zulu here, Indonesian, of course the Romance languages like Italian and so on. And I'm just hoping I got it right. Now, I was on a drive one day, soon after I was in the beginning stages of this and trying to think about how do I get confirmation that I've done things right, because I wanted to make sure, again, it wasn't just one Google search and yep, that's it. But also thinking about the inspiration, and in all honesty, was it about what's going on in Israel right now? Was it going on in the Ukraine? I couldn't, doesn't matter. But I realized where this is coming from. And so a portion of the proceeds of each chart is going to be made to a donation to Doctors Without Borders. And that just felt like the right thing to do for this project. So every pattern that is sold, money will be going to the organization Doctors Without Borders. They work all around the world, wherever they are needed. They are known to be a good charity there's ratings of charities of how well they use their money, and Doctors Without Borders is known to use their money very well. And it certainly goes with the spirit of peace. What else do I, sorry. 166 by 116. Because it's all words, it's stitched up pretty quickly. I mean, that's when I relatively late, mid-December, decided I wanted to do this. I knew it wasn't going to take me that long to stitch it. So 166 by 116 on blueberry pie, 32 count from Grace Notes. I love this. You could the variegation is coming through nice, but it's not, as I said with Corinne, I don't like splotchy. Some people love splotchy fabrics. I like things that look like this. So there you go, folks. Oh, one little thing. Sorry, I see this. I want to make sure to say something. In Nashville, one of the things that can be purchased, or your stores can purchase for you, is a cookbook that comes out every year. And designers, store owners are invited to submit a recipe to include, as well as a freebie chart. And I just saw an email today of how many recipes, and I want to say it's over 40 little charts are included. So I did submit a recipe this year, as I had done last year, and this was the freebie that is included in that. And this is stitched with one of the DMC variegated ones. So if you like this little thing, it's going to be in the cookbook that can be purchased. And that cookbook is very specifically you can only purchase it if you are a store attending Nashville. So if you haven't attended, all of my designs will be available for stores that have not attended, or to individuals through my Etsy store, about a month after Nashville, sort of giving those who are spending the time, the money to come to Nashville that extra leg up. But after about a month, they will be out there more freely, particularly through my Etsy store. But And I would say that's true for the vast majority of things that are at Nashville, with one big exception is that cookbook. So the only way you can get a copy of the cookbook is to find a store that is going to Nashville that you can purchase it from. So wanted to just share my little cookbook thing. So there we go. There's my 7 new Nashville releases that I've been working on for months, for all the videos that I come on and do. And I say, well, I don't have much to share. It's because of this, because I want one video where it gets shared all at one time. This video is going to go up the same day that my email goes out to stores and that I will start doing full reveals on Instagram. So you're seeing this right now, and it should be out there to stores. Maybe you've already started seeing some things on Instagram, depending on exactly when you watch. Speaking of watching, I so appreciate that you're here. Again, so many floss tubes to watch, so many Nashville release floss tubes right in this period of time. And especially if you're here till the end, I'm so appreciative of it. Do all the YouTube-y things like subscribe and hit the like button and leave a comment. Helps me out. If you like what you see and want to share it with friends, let them know. Have them come on over and see my things, because like I said, I'm really excited for all of my releases. And I'm excited for Nashville. I will be flying down. It's February 29th, but the days of the show are March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So literally the first weekend of March. And I'm sure in a few weeks I'll be back right after Nashville and have lots to share and report with you. So go check out these and any designs that are being shared right now to come in, that are being shared for Nashville. Go support some LNSs, some ONSs. Thank you so much for being here. Till next time.